I'm so excited to be here. I'm like, we're here. We're really here after what, a week, almost 2 weeks? I'm here for a full video. Hello friends, happy Friday. So very excited that you're here. So excited that I'm here. Very thankful to be feeling so much better from post-COVID and COVID, and just February has been a month, guys. It has been a month. We all had COVID in my family and it was just awful. I'm really excited. I'm very thankful to be here. I'm actually going to be doing a really fun video that's not a review or a reading wrap up or anything. My friend Maeve at Maeve Ever Manga, I will leave her link here to her channel. Definitely check her out. I've really enjoyed her videos, but she recently did I think it was like 20 manga question tag, and she tagged me and I was like, oh my gosh, she tagged me. I was really excited because, again, I love her videos. Very excited that she's back filming videos weekly and sharing them with us. It's so great. She's just a lot of fun and just really cool. Go check out her videos, seriously. Since she tagged me, I thought it'd be really fun to do this tag during my birthday week and just have fun for my birthday because, you know, it's just my birthday and it's just fun to do fun things. Hopefully this weekend I will be going to the bookstore and we'll have even more fun, and that this video kicks off a great fun celebration weekend. But we're gonna go ahead and dive into this tag. It is 20 questions and some of them required a little bit of thought because I was like, I don't know. So I'm giving it my best shot and it should be fun regardless. For number one, how many books is too many books in a series? I don't really know. I feel like with shoujo manga, I feel like 10 to 12 volumes is like a sweet spot, and I feel like typically does pretty well for me. I like at least 10 volumes for a long series. I mean, I've definitely read longer, like Hero of the Dawn is a good example, Sorry with Red Hair. I also have Skip Beat up on the higher shelves, and Haikyuu is another long series that I have as well. So I don't mind long series, but I definitely prefer if I'm reading a really long series that I can binge read it. It has been very hard not binge reading Yona like I did when I first read it last year. That was amazing. So I guess if I can't binge a series and it's ongoing, I think for at least most of my series, I think I prefer 10 to 12 volumes. No more than 15, like as a max. But Honey Lemon Soda is ongoing, and I'm really excited that that's like, I think like 20 plus volumes right now. So I don't know, maybe it just sort of depends on the series and how much I'm loving the characters. But for an actual answer, I'm gonna say 10 to 12 volumes. For number two, how do you feel about cliffhangers? I don't like them. But they're really great ways, or a really great way to get you to want to pick up that next volume. But I struggle with cliffhangers, and depending on how bad they are, and when I say how bad, I mean emotionally. Emotionally, where you're like, I can't believe this just ended at this spot. I need the next volume ASAP. Like, that is a bad but good cliffhanger. I don't prefer those because I'm so emotionally invested that I'm like, give me the next volume. And since I've been trying to be a lot more diligent to read books as I get them and keep up with series, so if I'm not liking it, I could drop it rather than, like, you know, collecting all of the series. I'm like, oh, I only read 3 volumes and I don't like this and I don't want that. Like, no. So cliffhangers are not my jam, but I feel like manga always has a cliffhanger. Manhwa always has a cliffhanger as well. And I'm just like, please don't do this. I will pick up the next volume even if there's not a cliffhanger. For number 3, hardcover or paperback? I'm going to say paperback because I have hardcovers and I hardly ever read them. Like, I have Magic Knight Ray Earth. I have the entire series as a hardcover or hardback. I've read it once and I loved it. It was amazing. And the editions are phenomenal. The big pages and everything. And it also has like mini art books that come with it. Fantastic. Highly recommend. But I never reread it because I have my hardbacks in a different section of my library. I try to weekly to rearrange my manga. I like physically touching my manga because the more I touch it, the more I remember it, the more I think about how much I love that series. With my hardbacks, I don't do that because I only have 2. Well, I have the Magic Knight Ray Earth series, and then I have the Levi spinoff Attack on Titan, which is a shoujo manga, and so I have that in hardcover, but that's literally all I have. I don't have anything else, so I don't typically pick up hardcover. I try and avoid it because I know I'm not going to touch it often, and therefore I may not think about it often, even though I feel really bad saying that because Magic Knight Ray Earth is a wonderful series. Number 4, favorite book, and I was like, what kind of question is this? So I was like, why is this on this tag? Because I'm like, how do you choose your favorite book? Like, there's so much pressure and stress on this question. I was like, okay, well, we're gonna go with my best boys. And that, of course, is Haikyuu. I love this series. I love these characters so incredibly much. When I was recovering from COVID and really wanted to celebrate my birthday for Top 5 Wednesday, I filmed a short reel, or short YouTube short, I guess you would say, about my favorite characters in Haikyuu. I mean, I love all of them, and it does at times change, you know, with some of the characters, but I feel like right now, rock solid, those are my top 5. So I said Haikyuu because I got into fan fiction because of Haikyuu, because I was like, I want more of these characters. I want more of the story, so to speak, and how people create their own scenarios with these characters I love, and I adore it so much. I mean, these characters have changed my life, and they have a huge part of my heart. Like, I love them. And so I was like, okay, favorite book. I've only read this series once. Now, I have read volume 42 like 5 to 6 times because I adore that specific volume. I cry every time, but I love it a lot. But this series itself, I've only read once. But I told myself yesterday, I was like, look, the 3-in-1 Haikyuu volumes are coming out later this year. And I was like, I told my husband, I was like, you know, I really don't need them. Okay, I know I don't need them. I have the whole series on my shelf. But I told myself last night, I was like, you know, we are going to support Sensei. We are getting the 3-in-1s. I also really love the 3-in-1 covers in the Japanese volumes, or Japanese editions. And if they have those, I want them. I want them a lot. So I told myself, you know, we're going to support Sensei. He has been blessing us with so much art because of the movie, and I'm here for it. And I'm like, Sensei, anything I can do to legally support you, you've got it. You've got my support. And I'm really excited because hopefully at the time of this video going up that I got the Haikyuu magazine, I ordered it, and I'm like, I really hope that it's here because I need more of these guys in my life. I love them so much, and it's been just an incredible experience just being part of this fandom and just being able to have read this series. I love it. It's a favorite. For number 5, least favorite book. I was like, this is even harder than saying favorite book. I do not keep books that I don't like. And so I laughed originally when I first read this question. I'm like, what do I say? I'm like, I don't know, but I gotta say something. So I finally sent Sakura Heime, I think it's the Princess Sakura. Hold on, let me look up that official title here. Okay, it's Sakura Heime, The Legend of Princess Sakura. I read this last year. I'll try and leave like a link to my reading wrap up that have my thoughts on this. I loved the beginning of this series. It was incredible. It was like historical fantasy meets magical girl, epic mashup. I adored it. I'm like, wow, I'm on cloud 9 right now. And the creator's like, I really wanted this series to feel very shonen-like. And I'm like, girl, you're nailing it. And so for probably about the first 6 volumes of the series, I was on fire for this series. So like, new favorite, need to binge buy it ASAP. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I waited, because once the fights had sort of like taken place, more or less, because you have the middle part of the story where there are a lot of battles that are happening, and they were great. I love the backstory. Volume 6 lives rent free in my head. I love that specific volume so much. It made me sob, but it was totally worth it. But it was like certain things had happened that I talk about in that video that I could not get behind. I'm like, Sakura, you were amazing, girl. Like, you are getting your power, you're kicking butt, you're saving people. Like, it was amazing. It was everything I wanted. And then it's like this huge factor in a incident happens, and it's like Sakura becomes this background character, and I'm like, girl, you could totally kick these people's butt, but it was like her character regressed. It went backward rather than forward, where she's just crying all the time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but how determined she was at the beginning of the series. It was like she didn't have that anymore. And I just didn't understand why she was letting other people fight the battles that were her battles that she could fight easily. And I'm not trying to like knock her, because I don't feel like there's anything wrong with people fighting battles for you at times, or you need people to fill in the gap, stand in the gap for you. But it was just a really strange turn for this series, and I forced myself to just skim right to the end, and I really disliked it. I felt like she didn't have the limelight anymore for like the last 5 volumes, and then she comes at the end and saves the day. And I'm like, no. So a series I would say is one of my least favorite, it would be that series. And I think it's just because I love the beginning so much. Like, I would recommend it up to like volume 6 or 7, and I'm like, just don't read the end. Don't read any further. You don't need it, because that was how good and incredible the first part of the series was. Number 6, love triangles. Yes, Yes or no? Hands down, no. One of my least favorite tropes. Be done with it. I have been very strict on series that I've been reading that have love triangles because I've just realized recently with all of the sickness my family has and the stress and just having my own mental head battles, I cannot handle the angst of love triangles right now. I just can't do it. And I've realized like a series, like the only one I know for sure I didn't drop was A Condition Called Love. I think it was like volume 4. That one dude trying to have a chance, guy, get out. I was so upset that I wouldn't definitely not drop A Condition Called Love because I love that series. But I was really upset and I did not give that volume a full 5 stars, even though it deserved it, but I was so angry at that character. And I almost dropped Last Game. I decided actually not to drop Last Game because I came back to it because I was talking to my friend Darcy. I loved volumes 1 through 3, but in this 3rd volume, there was a love triangle thing happening. I'm like, no, but I feel like these characters sort of actually need it. Like this is one time where they're just not going to realize their feelings, or our female lead, she's just not going to realize that Yanagi really loves her. But I came back to it actually just 2-3 days ago and I was like, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And I decided to go ahead and get volume 4. And it's funny because when I talked about volume 3 in one of my reading wrap-ups, I actually said I had it pre-ordered, but then I canceled the pre-order like after filming that video. Now I'm going to go back and get it. So I don't like love triangles. I just don't feel they're necessary. I don't care for them. I don't like them. And this year with all of the mental health struggles I've had, it's just, I really can't even put up with it half the time. Like 90% of the time, I just can't put up with it. I can't deal with that. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't need that. I'm like, I know that love triangles happen in real life, but no. So I am been very harsh on love triangles this year, unfortunately. Number 7, the most recent book you couldn't finish. This was hard. Not the question, but the actual book. And that is The Saint's Magic Powers Omnipotent, The Other Saint. Now, I have talked about how much I love The Saint's Magic Powers Omnipotent. Sei is amazing. She's one of my favorite best girls in fiction that I've read. I adore her. And I finally, thanks to my Patreon members, I asked them to do a vote, like which one should I read next? Should I read this or House Moving Castle? And this got the most votes. And I tried it and I could not get through it. And I was absolutely crushed. I love these characters and all of my favorite characters are here. Like they're here in this series. The art is fantastic, but Aria, our girl here, because she's the other saint, I could not get in this. I could not get invested into her story. I think I was like 25%, maybe 35. I wasn't even halfway. And I was like, I can't. It's just not the same. It's not bad. I definitely want to say that. And I do appreciate that I read this because, or at least the first quarter, because it gave me a whole other perspective, point of view of our girl when I really didn't like her at first when I met her in the main series. But this one is just not nearly as engaging. The humor is not the same. Aria is not a bad main character to follow in this series, but she does not have Sei's humor. She doesn't have I wouldn't say the same confidence, because Sei doesn't have an overwhelming amount of confidence, but she really goes out of her way and pursues her passion. In Aria, I get that she can't, like things that are happening, I get that, but it's just, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. It all comes down to everything I loved is in this series, the characters I love, and the setting's the same, but it didn't feel the same. And so I, with a very heavy heart, could not finish this volume, decided to drop the rest of the series. I believe I had volumes 1 and I think I had volumes 1 through 3 actually, and I just couldn't do it. And so it was a very big sad for me. And I even like went through volumes 2 and 3 hoping, something could hook me that I could come back, because I love the main series. So I really just didn't want to drop this, but it wasn't there. It wasn't there, and it hurts because I saw the cover of volume 4 and it's beautiful. The art's gorgeous, but it is not one that I'm unfortunately going to come back to. For number 8, a book you are currently reading. I'm actually between books. I just finished a book yesterday. It was really good. I'm not going to say what it is because I have that one for a future prompt coming up. So I am between books, and my next read is actually a manual, and it's either going to be volume 6 of Villains Are Destined to Die or volume 3 of Not So Wicked Stepmom. I love both of these series, and I'm hesitant to read Villains Are Destined to Die, even though that is what I want to read. I need my girl boss Penelope, but I know we're about to hit a Penelope drought, and I am not ready. I am not ready to not have another volume coming out in like 3-4 months. And I am nervous to start reading Villains Are Destined to Die because it's going to be very, very hard to wait for volume 7. Not So Wicked Stepmom is so cute. I actually read right before, it was the day before I got really sick with COVID. I read like a quarter of this already. Like, I was like, I'm just gonna skim Reddit. I sat on my bed and actually read it, but I didn't finish it. I'm like, oh, I didn't technically start it, so I'll come back at another time. But I want to finish and see what happens next, but I don't know which one I'm gonna choose. I really want to choose Penelope, but I'm not ready for that Penelope drought, guys. I'm just not. She's amazing. So I might go with Not So Wicked Stepmom. I've been buddy reading this series with, oh my gosh, I know it's Claire and I'm blanking on his name that he uses, so I'm gonna use it right here. But I've been buddy reading with them at Beneath the Tangles, and I was so bummed because I was sick. I missed out on the group review that they're doing for volume 3. So I'll try and leave that link down below because I have loved reading this series with them. It's been really fun. So maybe I should actually read this because when this video goes live, it'll be Friday, and I can't read that article or that post until I read this. So maybe I will read this. And Blancha looks so adorable. I'm really excited. I read the light novel of that, and it is amazing. I wish it was still available because the light novel was incredible, but the manhwa has been a very faithful adaptation. Number 9, last book you recommend to someone. So I feel like because I have been sick, I haven't been recommending manga to anybody. And so I was like, what have I recommended last time? And I have not read this volume yet, but this past Tuesday, I think it was past Monday, excuse me, Margaret Reads Manga on Instagram, she had her weekly not reading wrap up. I think it's just like a weekly manga live stream kind of thing, talking about what she bought, what she read. And she had talked about how she got The Ice Guy and the Cool Girl, volume 3. And I did recommend this to people like in the chat, in the comments or whatever, because it's so good. And Mark had like already recommended it, and I was just recommending it on top of her recommendation. Because like, please people, go read it. It's so good. I have been waiting for the right moment to read volume 3, and I'm very, very excited because the developments of volume 2 were really good, and I've really just loved reading this series so much. So this would be my recommendation for other people, and just I'm pretty sure was my last recommendation that I gave someone. Number 10, oldest book you've read, publication date. I don't know. I was a little bit intimidated, to be honest, of like going through. I'm like, I don't really know. So I just went with what I felt is the oldest book in my collection. Not physically, it was published in Japan in 1991, which was surreal. I was like, whoa. But that is From Far Away, volume 1. Technically, this came out in the States in 2003, I think it said, or 2005, 2004. So I don't know if that's the oldest manga I have. I thought it might be Kaze Hikaru, which Maeve was super sweet and sent me some of the volumes, and we're gonna buddy read it. I'm very, very excited. But that one came out in 2005. So I'm gonna say From Far Away. I love this series. It's the only currently out of print series that I've been trying to get the backlog of volumes. And if this ever gets reprinted and Viz Media does a 3-in-1 omnibus, I might cry from excitement, but cry from sadness, because everybody talks about like with the reprint or like with the new omnibus of Red River that's coming from Viz Media, they're like, all those scalpers are crying. I'm like, do we not think about the people who paid overpriced for the scalped manga? Because I have done that From Far Away, and I'm like, So I have definitely since been super strict to myself that I will not pay super above retail for any volume. I think the most I've ever paid was $50. And yes, you can totally be like, Laura, that was dumb. And you have every right to say that. But at the moment, I thought it was a great idea and a great decision because I really, really love this series. I do have a video review if you're ever curious about it. It's one I love. It's a fantastic, perfect shoujo isekai that has stuck with me, and I really need to go back and reread it. And I'm very thankful for like Colleen and Vampy, that both of them, they had talked about this, and I finally read it last year because of Colleen's book club, and I'm so excited. It was so good. It was very, very wonderful. For 11, it's newest book you've read, publication date, and this came out just this past week, and that is If the Villainous and Villain Met and Fell in Love. She was all but disowned for her spirit contract, but she's still competing with her rival. This was everything, okay? This was everything. I was like, I'm gonna be recommending this to a lot of people because I loved it. I think I know why it's called If the Villainous and Villain, because the thing is, she's not a villainess. And I think it's called If She's a Villainess because everybody treats her like one because of the prince broke his engagement with her. And so everybody looks down upon her. And the villain, I mean, I think his name's Yuri, and I don't think he's I don't think he's an actual villain either, but because he does have not villain vibes, but like everybody views him as a villain. So I think it's just a sense of the name and how people look at them and not them actually being a villainous and villain. But it was so good. I hate the prince. I hate his new fiance. They're both trash. Just oh, but our leads themselves were amazing. I'm very, very excited. And I will just say, I'll talk more about my reading wrap up next month, but I just want to say one of my favorite parts is the things that people dislike about these two characters and saying that is an awful character trait or an awful flaw is actually the two things that they really like about each other. And I think that's great because they're not bad character traits. Like Yuri is just very blunt and very straightforward, and he really just doesn't care what people think about him, including the prince. And he's like, if I got a problem, I'm gonna tell you I got a problem. And so a lot of people think that's a really negative thing. They're like, how could he talk like that? But she admires actually him being so blunt and how he can speak back to somebody that the prince who totally flipped our main girl's life over, just flipped her life upside down in the meanest and most horrible ways. And just, he's a straight jerk and I don't like him. So this was really good. Very, very excited. Looking forward to volume 2 because it ended on a massive cliffhanger and I'm just like, why? So I need volume 2 ASAP. Number 12, favorite author, I'm gonna go with Sumori Ishida. I would have said Yoko Nogiri because I have loved all of her works. She wrote Love and Focus, Those Not So Sweet Boys. I'm liking on the, and That Wolf Boy is mine. I love all of those 3 series. I think they're all amazing. I have reviews on this channel of all 3 of them. Fantastic. But I'm gonna say Sumori Ishida because I have reread her work so many times. I love Like a Butterfly. I haven't reread that one as much since it's new and it's ongoing, but I've reread A Sign of Affection 3 or 4 times, like each volume. I've read Shortcake Cake at least 2 or 3 times each volume. I really, really love her work. Just has such an emotional way of telling, or they, have a very emotional way of storytelling as well as the art. I am just so hooked and so engaged in their series, and I'm just like, whatever you write, whatever you publish, I hope we always get in English and I will always pick it up. They're amazing, amazing creators. 13, buying books or borrowing books. I'm gonna say buying books because I quickly learned in the past few years, like if I check out a series from the library and if I love it, I'm going to buy it. And so I've actually not been using my library as much, which probably sounds bad, but my library's out of the way. And so now I've been making the decision, do I want to go out of the way to the library to go get this book, which I probably, if I love it, I know that I'm going to buy it later. So I've sort of just been telling myself not to check out really any books from the libraries because I'm also trying to stay on a manga budget, trying to not check out as many older series like I did in the past because I'm just gonna want to buy it every time. It never fails and I just get so starry-eyed. So I've really been trying to reel that in, but I did check out Sand Chronicles from my library and I'm hoping that I don't have the itch to buy the whole series if I love it. But Colleen, her book club this month the current upcoming book that we're doing is Sand Chronicles, and I knew that I wanted to read that physically rather than digitally since it's on the Viz Media app, and I'm really looking forward to that. So we'll see if that unleashes something in me where I'm like, let's borrow all of the books, or if I'm just gonna be like, okay, we'll still borrow books, but we're still gonna buy them at the same time. Oh, 14, I'm dreading this question. A book that you dislike but everybody else loves. How I Met My Soulmate. I tried this at Christmas when I went to the bookstore, and I even said on Instagram when I shared that I did not like it, I bought something else, that I was not trying to choose violence. Had a lot of upset people with me, but going back to what I said about the love triangle thing, I was very turned off when it felt like a love triangle. I thought she was going to meet her soulmate, there could be drama and stuff like that, but it feels like, from what I've been seeing, there's 3 to 4 different guys, and I said, I can't, no. I'm not in a mental place where I can get invested in that series. And I will also add, I saw a massive spoiler on Twitter. It really upset me for the series and a decision that the main girl makes that is you're dumb. Sorry. I'm sorry if that upsets anybody, but I really disliked the decision she made. I felt it was dumb. Why did you do that? I haven't even read this series and I know that this is not a smart decision. I haven't seen any spoilers since that time, but I sort of feel that because I didn't love the beginning, that I was not hooked at the beginning, and then knowing that she's going to make this decision, however many volumes it is from this point, I just did not feel like I was invested enough that I'm okay, I'm willing to go through the drama to still get to a happy happy ending. Maybe in the future that will change. When I was updating my Amazon wish list recently for my birthday, I almost put How I Met My Soulmate on there. I was like, I really want to make people happy and love this series, but I just could not get into it. The art's gorgeous, the characters themselves seem great, but I'm just not digging that love triangle right now. So hopefully maybe in the future I will come back, but man, I just did not want to answer this question because I was like, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are not happy with me because I have a lot of good friends that love it and they're like, it's the best manga they've read in recent months, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm not one of those people. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. 15, bookmarks or dog ears? Bookmarks. Nothing else needs to be said for this. Bookmarks, my sister dog ears, but I'm like, no, bookmarks forever and always. 16, a book you can always reread. So I try and make a big effort to reread my manga at some point, whether it's just like a volume of Yona or like a whole series. I try to intentionally reread it because I just like rereading. I'm like, I have this manga. I don't want it to just be read once, sit on my shelf, and that's it. Nope, I don't like that for me as a collector. So I was thinking about a series that I have come back to time and time and time again. Like I could just rearrange my manga and bam, just pick up a volume as I'm rearranging and sit there for the next 30 minutes just randomly reading volumes. And I said 2 for this, and I'm saying Shortcake Cake and Kimi ni Todoke. I don't know how many times I've literally done what I just said of like, I'm rearranging my manga. Oh, I'm just gonna like skim through this, skim through that volume, read the next one, and then the next one, and then like, oh my goodness, so much time has passed. I need to finish putting away this manga and go do something else. I love these 2 series so incredibly much. I just feel like it doesn't matter what volume I pick up, I love it just as much as the first time that I read it. They're both phenomenal. I'm so excited. Kimi ni Todoke, season 3 of the anime. It's coming. I'm very, very excited. Never mind the fact that I have not finished season 1, but it's still coming. Very excited. But both of these I really enjoy and love and have reread more times than I can count at this point. 17, can you read while listening to music? No, not really. No, not really. Maybe instrumental or like emotional instrumental I can sometimes, but typically no. I cannot. I can read with all my kids playing with laughter, them yelling, but I can't read when it comes to music. Like my husband really likes listening to music when he reads manga, and I'm like, how do you do it? Because I can't do it. I'm either going to jam to the music or I'm going to read, but I cannot do both typically at the same time. 18, one point of view or multiple point of views. I like both. I don't mind if we have multiple or if we just have one. I feel like either works for me. I do enjoy when we see multiple point of views because it's always interesting to see like one character view the situation compared to another character, or like we're getting a situation but then we find out behind the scenes of that situation from another perspective. I enjoy any of them, so I don't really have a preference. I'll just roll with it, whatever the creator I guess decides to do when it comes to the story itself. I'll go with either one. 19, do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? I used to be able to read books in one sitting, but not so much now. I try to do multiple books, but not usually. I mean, if they're in the same series, I definitely can. But if it's like 5 different series with 1 volume in each series and they're all unrelated, I typically can't do that. I really like to read a book and then think about it for the rest of the day and just sort of like dwell on it, but like in a positive way, because I don't want to move on too fast or like forget what happens. Like I really enjoy reading a manga and then thinking about that and just, you know, thinking about the feelings that I felt when I was reading. But if we are binge reading a series, that will probably take multiple days. But I do enjoy doing that though, a lot. I haven't done that in a while, but I do have a series I'm wanting to read and hoping that I can binge read it within a weekend. I don't know if I can because I have not been able to do that in a long time. I think the last time I had binge read a full series in one day was Those Not So Sweet Boys, and that was sometime. That was sometime last year, but I have not read a 7-volume series in a day like I have that one. I think the most amount of manga I've ever read in a day was like 10 volumes, and I think that was like with Snow with the Red Hair when I was like on a deep binge last summer. I think that was the last time I read like 10 volumes in a day. That is abnormal for me. That's not the norm. That's not the norm. We'll say typically just 1 volume a day or like 1 sitting. I know when I go to read, I want it to be read in 1 sitting. I don't like reading, coming back a day later and then reading the half of it. I don't like that. If I'm going to read a volume, I need to read it all in 1 sitting. Number 20, who do you tag? I'm going to tag Christy Lou because she's amazing. I love all of her content and I hope that maybe she'll do this tag and I can see more of her content because I love her stuff so much. Highly recommend her channel. Also leave all 3 channels down below. I'm also going to say Bizarre Individual because I really enjoy watching his stuff as well. He's very relaxing, and so I really love watching him at night, and I'm trying to like decompress after like a stressful day. Like he can just nail his videos as well. Like they're just great. And then third, I'm gonna say Toni at Toni's Manga. I always enjoy watching her stuff. She has a lot of different manga that she shares. Toni reads like more gritty seinen stuff that is just typically something I wouldn't ever pick up and too afraid to pick up. But I really enjoy just how she films her videos as well. And I think she would have another great video if she did something like this. I feel like all three content creators, because I love all three of them. They're three of my faves, but I am just tagging out Christy Lou, Bizarre Individual, and Toni. Go check them out. Links down below. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun. A huge shout out to May for tagging me. This was a blast, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what have been some of your favorite books or most reread books. I would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!